There are moments in life when quitting feels like the only option left. You've tried, you've waited, you've given everything you had, and still the situation hasn't changed. Your strength feels gone, your hope feels thin, and your heart feels tired. But hear this clearly today. God won't let you quit. God saw this moment long before you reached it. He knew the weight the tears you would cry, and the questions you would ask. Yet he still allowed you to walk this path, not because he wanted to break you, but because he knew you would not be destroyed by it. What you are facing now is not evidence of your failure. It is proof that God is shaping you. When you reach your breaking point, God reveals his sustaining power. Your exhaustion is not a sign to give up. It is a signal to lean in. Lean into his strength when yours is gone. Lean into his promises when your emotions are unstable. Lean into his presence when you don't understand his plan. God's delays are never wasted time. While you are waiting, he is working. While you are hurting, he is preparing. While you feel stuck, heaven is still moving. The reason you haven't quit yet is because God's hand has been holding you together when you felt like falling apart. The resistance you feel right now is not random. It often means you are closer than you realize to your breakthrough. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't a threat, and opposition increases when purpose is near. If the pressure is heavy, it's because something valuable is being protected. God is not just interested in giving you comfort. He is building endurance in you. He is developing a faith that won't collapse under pressure. The pain you are enduring now is forming a testimony that will one day give someone else the strength to keep going. You were never called to quit. You were chosen to finish. God does not abandon what he starts, and he has not brought you this far to leave you now. Even in your weakness, his power is active. Even in silence, his presence remains. Even in the struggle, his plan is unfolding. Before you ever felt the weight of this struggle, before the confusion, the disappointment, and the exhaustion set in, God already saw it all. Nothing you are facing right now is unexpected to him. He knew the pressure would come. He knew the obstacles would appear, and he knew the moments when you would feel like quitting. Yet even with that knowledge, he still allowed you to walk this path. That alone should tell you something powerful. You are not unprepared, and you are not alone. God does not lead people into battles they are meant to lose. When he allows a challenge into your life, it is because he has already accounted for the strength, growth, and faith that will be required to endure it. You may feel overwhelmed because you can only see the battle from the middle of it, but God sees it from beginning to end. He sees the outcome, the lessons, and the transformation that will come through this season. Many times we think our struggles mean we made a wrong turn or missed God's will. In reality, the struggle itself is often part of his plan. God knew the opposition would rise, but he also knew that what he placed inside you would be greater than what stands against you. The fear, resistance, and hardship you feel are not signs that you should quit. They are signs that something meaningful is happening in your life. God's foresight is what gives you security in uncertain times. Even when you don't understand why things are unfolding the way they are, you can trust that God already factored this season into your purpose. He is not reacting to your situation. He is guiding you through it. Every delay, every challenge, and every test was seen and allowed with intention because God saw the battle before it began. He also prepared a way for you to survive it. He has been strengthening your character, deepening your faith, and teaching you endurance long before you realized you would need it. What feels like too much right now is actually proof that God believes you can grow through it. He saw this moment and he trusted you with it. There comes a moment in every difficult season when you feel like you have reached your limit. Your strength feels drained, your patience feels gone, and your heart feels tired of hoping. You begin to think, this is as far as I can go, but what feels like your breaking point is not where your story ends. It is often the place where God steps in and begins to work in a deeper way. God never confuses exhaustion with failure. Feeling worn out does not mean you are weak. It means you've been carrying a heavy load for a long time. Many people quit not because they are incapable, but because they are tired. God understands that. He sees the weight you've been holding, the silent battles you've been fighting, and the prayers you've been whispering when words were hard to find. When your strength runs out, God's strength becomes visible. God often allows you to reach the end of yourself so that you stop relying on what you can do and start depending on what he can do. This is where faith moves from theory to experience. It is easy to trust God when you feel strong, but true trust is formed when you have nothing left except him. Your breaking point exposes what has been holding you together. It strips away self-reliance, pride, and the illusion of control, leaving room for God's power to sustain you. What feels like collapse is actually a transition. God is shifting you from striving your own ability to resting in his provision. Many times, people look back on their hardest moments and realize those were the seasons that shaped them the most. The pain did not destroy them. It refined them. The pressure did not end their journey. It redirected it. Your breaking point is not proof that you should stop. It is evidence that you have reached a place where God can carry you further than you could ever go on your own. God is not finished with you just because you feel finished. The fact that you are still standing, still searching, and still listening means there is more ahead. What feels like the end of your strength is often the beginning of God's sustaining power working in your life. When you have been waiting for a long time, it is easy to believe that God has said no. You prayed with faith, you trusted his promises, and you expected movement. Yet the situation remains the same. The silence feels heavy, and the waiting feels unfair. But delay does not mean denial. God's timing operates on wisdom, not urgency. And what feels late to you is often right on time in his plan. God sees the full picture while you only see the moment you are in. He understands what must happen before your answer can arrive. Sometimes the delay is not about the outcome itself, but about the preparation required to receive it. God may be working on you, on other people, or on circumstances you cannot see. What feels like nothing happening is often God aligning everything behind the scenes. A delayed answer protects you from receiving something too early. If God gave you everything you asked for the moment you wanted it, it might overwhelm you, harm you, or pull you away from his purpose. God's love is shown not only in what he gives, but also in what he withholds until the right time. The waiting season is often where wisdom, patience, and trust are developed. Delay also tests where your faith is anchored. It reveals whether you trust God only for results or whether you trust him for who he is. In the waiting, faith is refined. You learn to rely on God's character rather than your circumstances. This kind of faith lasts even when answers take time. God is never slow, and he is never careless. Every delay has intention. What you are waiting for has not been forgotten. God has not overlooked your prayers or ignored your tears. The answer is moving towards you, but it is arriving in the timing that will bring the greatest good and the deepest growth. Even in moments when you feel like you are barely holding on, God's hand has never loosened its grip on you. You may feel weak, uncertain, or overwhelmed, but your security has never depended on your ability to stay strong. It has always depended on God's faithfulness to keep you. Long before you realized you were struggling, God was already sustaining you. There are seasons when it feels like everything is slipping away. Your confidence, your peace, your clarity. In those moments, you might think that you are one step away from falling apart. But the truth is, the only reason you haven't fallen is because God has been holding you steady. His strength has been carrying you through days you thought you wouldn't survive. God's grip does not change based on your emotions. When your faith feels strong, He holds you. When your faith feels fragile, He holds you. When you pray with confidence, He holds you. When all you can do is sit in silence, He still holds you. His presence is not conditional on how well you are doing. It is rooted in His unchanging nature. Sometimes God's hand is most active when you feel Him the least. You may not sense His presence, but that does not mean He has stepped away. He is guiding, protecting, and sustaining you in ways you cannot see. Even in confusion, He is preventing you from quitting completely. Even in discouragement, He is keeping your heart from giving up entirely. God's hand is what keeps you moving forward when your strength is gone. It is what steadies you when fear tries to take over, and what reassures you when doubt becomes loud. You are still here, still trying, still hoping, because God has been holding you the entire time. When the pressure suddenly increases and everything feels harder than before, it is often a sign that you are closer than you realize. Resistance does not appear randomly. It shows up when progress is being made, when growth is happening, and when purpose is about to be revealed. If quitting feels tempting right now, it may be because you are standing near a breakthrough. Many people mistake resistance as a signal to stop, but in reality, it is often confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Opposition tends to intensify when something meaningful is about to happen. The struggle you feel is not proof that you are failing. It is evidence that what lies ahead carries value. Nothing worth having comes without challenge. Resistance exposes the importance of what you are pursuing. If there were no purpose connected to your progress, there would be no reason for obstacles to stand in your way. The difficulty you are facing is highlighting that at your life, your growth, and your calling matter. You are not fighting for nothing. As you get closer to change, the discomfort often increases. Old patterns are being challenged, fear is being confronted, and growth is demanding something new from you. That tension can feel overwhelming, but it also means transformation is near. The pressure is shaping you, is strengthening you, and preparing you for what comes next. Instead of seeing resistance as a reason to retreat, recognize it as a sign to stay focused. You are closer than you think. The weight you feel is not meant to stop you. It is meant to push you forward with greater determination and deeper trust. Pain often feels meaningless when you are in the middle of it. It hurts deeply, lingers longer than expected, and raises questions that don't have easy answers. You may wonder why God would allow you to experience disappointment, loss, or emotional strain when you are trying to do the right thing. But your pain is not random, and it is not wasted. God allows nothing into your life without purpose. Every painful moment carries the potential to shape you in ways comfort never could. Pain reveals what truly matters, strips away false security, and exposes areas of your heart that need healing or growth. Through pain, God teaches you dependence on Him rather than reliance on circumstances. What feels like damage is often development happening beneath the surface. Pain also deepens compassion. The struggles you endure now will allow you to understand others in a way you never could before. God often uses personal pain to prepare you to be a source of strength, encouragement, and wisdom for someone else in the future. Your wounds become the very place where empathy is formed. In painful seasons, your faith is refined. Trusting God when everything feels good is easy, but trusting Him when things hurt requires depth. Pain pushes faith beyond words and into action. It forces you to decide whether you will believe God's promises even when your emotions are unstable and your situation feels uncertain. What you are enduring is shaping a testimony. One day you will look back and realize that what tried to break you actually built you. The pain you carry now is forming resilience, character, and spiritual strength that will serve you for the rest of your life. God is more interested in who you are becoming than in how comfortable you feel. While comfort brings temporary relief, Endurance builds lasting strength. If God removed every difficulty the moment appeared, your faith would remain shallow and untested. Instead, he allows seasons that stretch you so that your trust in him becomes unshakable. Endurance is formed over time, not in ease, but in pressure. The challenges you face are training your heart to remain steady even when circumstances are unstable. God is teaching you how to stand firm when answers are delayed, when emotions fluctuate, and when life does not make sense. This kind of endurance cannot be learned through comfort alone. God knows that a life without endurance will collapse under future weight. The strength you are building now is preparing you for responsibilities, blessings, and opportunities that require spiritual maturity. What feels exhausting today is developing the capacity you will need tomorrow. In seasons of endurance, God teaches you to remain faithful even when feelings fade. You learn to obey without immediate reward, to trust without visible proof, and to keep going without constant reassurance. This deepens your relationship with God, moving it beyond convenience into commitment. Endurance changes how you respond to life. Instead of panicking under pressure, you learn patience. Instead of quitting when things get hard, you develop perseverance. God is not ignoring your discomfort. He is shaping you into someone who can stand strong no matter what comes. God never begins a work without intention, and he never calls someone without giving them the ability to endure the journey. If you are still here, still trying, still holding on despite the pressure, it is because quitting was never part of God's design for your life. You were chosen with purpose, not temporarily assigned and then forgotten. Many people believe that calling only applies to success, but calling also applies to endurance. God chose you knowing every obstacle you would face, every delay you would experience, and every moment you would feel like giving up. Your struggles did not disqualify you. They were factored into your assignment. God trusted you with this path because he knew you could grow through it. Finishing requires faith when motivation is gone. It requires obedience when clarity is missing. God is teaching you how to move forward without needing perfect conditions. This kind of perseverance builds a faith that lasts, and not one that depends on emotions or circumstances. When God chooses someone, he also commits to walking with them through the process. You are not finishing alone. His guidance, strength, and grace are available at every step. Even when you feel unsure, God remains faithful to complete what he started in you. You were not chosen to stop halfway. You were not chosen to quit in the middle of difficulty. You were chosen to endure, to grow, and to reach the place God has been preparing for you all along. Weakness often feels like something to hide, something to be ashamed of, or something that disqualifies you from moving forward. When you feel tired, uncertain, or unable to keep going, it can seem like proof that you are not strong enough. But in God's design, weakness is not a barrier. It is an invitation. It is the place where his power is able to work most clearly. When you reach the limits of your own ability, you stop relying on what you can control and begin depending on what God can do. This shift is not easy, but it is necessary. God allows you to experience weakness so you can see that your life is sustained not by your strength, but by his grace. What feels like vulnerability is actually the doorway to divine support. God's power is not displayed best when you feel confident and capable, but when you admit you need help. And in weakness, pride fades, and humility, you begin to understand that progress is not about proving yourself, but about trusting God to carry what you cannot. This creates space for God to move in ways that could not happen if you relied only on yourself. Weakness also teaches you to pray differently. Instead of asking God to simply fix things, you begin to seek his presence, his wisdom, and his strength. Your prayers become deeper, more honest, and more dependent. This strengthens your relationship with God, turning desperation into connection. Your weakness does not mean you are failing. It means God is at work in you. It is through moments of exhaustion and limitation that his power becomes visible, sustaining you when you can no longer sustain yourself. Every season of difficulty, delay, or disappointment is not just random hardship, it is a refining process. God allows challenges into your life not to punish you, but to shape you into the person He created you to be. Just as gold must go through fire to remove impurities, your faith, character, and purpose are being purified and strengthened through the trials you face. Refinement is often uncomfortable because it stretches you beyond what feels safe or familiar. God may be removing old habits, unhealthy attachments, or ways of thinking that no longer serve your purpose. What feels like loss or pressure is actually preparation. Each difficult moment is designed to sharpen you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the next chapter that requires more than what you have today. In this season, God is teaching patience, perseverance, and trust. You may not see the full picture, but every challenge is intentional. Every tear you shed and every obstacle you overcome is shaping a resilient faith, a steadfast heart, and a spirit that will not be shaken by future trials. Refinement also produces clarity. As distractions are stripped away and priorities are tested, you begin to see God's plan more clearly. You start to recognize what truly matters and what is temporary. This clarity strengthens your decision making and aligns your heart with God's will. Finally, God's refining process produces something lasting. Comfort may fade, circumstances may change, but the endurance, wisdom, and spiritual maturity gained through the season will remain with you for the rest of your life. The struggles you face now are not meaningless. They are the forge that is shaping you into the person God has called you to be. Often we pray for breakthroughs, blessings, or answers, and when they don't arrive immediately, it can feel as though God isn't listening. But God's timing is perfect, and the delays you experience are rarely about withholding blessings. They are about preparation. He is using this season to equip you with the strength, wisdom, and perspective that's necessary to handle what you have been asking for. When you pray for something significant, God doesn't give it to you without ensuring you are ready. Blessings without preparation can be overwhelming, misused, or even harmful. That is why the period of waiting, the challenges, and the lessons along the way are crucial. God is shaping your character, refining your understanding, and building resilience so that when your prayers are answered, you can receive them with gratitude, responsibility, and wisdom. This preparation often feels invisible. You may not notice the growth happening in your character, patience, or faith as you wait, but God sees every moment, every struggle, and every lesson learned. He is quietly molding you so that you can step into your next season fully equipped, capable, and confident. The waiting is also teaching you persistence. It is training your heart not to give up simply because the answer hasn't come yet. Through this, God is cultivating endurance and deepening your reliance on Him, showing you that He is both the source of your prayers and the perfect timing for their fulfillment. Remember, God never wastes a season. What you are enduring now is directly preparing you for what you have been asking for in prayer. The lessons, the strength, and the perseverance you gain along the way are all part of God's plan to ensure that when your blessings arrive, you are not just ready to receive them, but ready to honor the purpose behind them. Many times when life becomes difficult or progress seems slow, the thought of quitting can feel tempting. You may feel as though the obstacles are too heavy, the setbacks too discouraging, or the waiting too long. But quitting at this moment would not just stop your effort. It would cut short what God is actively doing in your life. God's work in you does not depend on ease. It depends on persistence, faith, and your willingness to stay the course. God is always working behind the scenes, even when you cannot see it. Every trial, every delay, and every moment of pressure has a purpose. It is preparing the soil for growth, clearing the path for opportunities and building the foundation for the breakthroughs that lie ahead. When you give up, you risk losing the fullness of what He has been shaping you to receive. Sometimes the hardest seasons are the exact point where God's greatest movement is about to occur. The reason resistance intensifies or doors seem to close is often because something valuable is about to open. If you stop now, you may miss the very blessings, insights, or transformations that your persistence is paving the way for. Quitting also diminishes the testimony God wants to produce through your life. Your perseverance through trials can become a powerful story of faith and encouragement for others. By continuing, you allow God's work to be fully realized, not only in your life, but in the lives of those who witness your journey. God's process cannot be rushed, and it cannot be circumvented by giving up. Every step, every struggle, and every moment of faithful endurance is part of His plan. Quitting would halt the flow of His work, but pressing forward, even when it feels impossible, keeps the door open for God to complete what He began. There are moments in life when it feels as though God is quiet, distant, or even absent. You may have prayed, sought guidance, and cried out for answers only to be met with silence. In these times, it is easy to doubt, to question, or to feel abandoned. But God's silence is never a sign that He has left you. His quietness is often intentional, serving purposes that your eyes cannot yet see. Silence from God does not mean He is unaware of your struggles. He sees every tear, hears every unspoken prayer, and knows every burden you carry. Sometimes God allows silence to teach you a deeper trust, not in His words alone, but in His presence and character. He wants you to believe in Him even when circumstances appear unchanged. During seasons of silence, God is often at work behind the scenes. He is aligning people, preparing opportunities, and orchestrating events in ways that will exceed anything you could plan for yourself. What feels like inaction is often divine strategy, carefully unfolding according to His perfect timing. Silence also develops patience, humility, and dependence. It forces you to seek Him not for immediate answers, but for understanding, strength, and peace in the midst of uncertainty. Your faith becomes anchored in God Himself rather than in the outcomes you hope to see. God's silence is a classroom for growth. It is an invitation to lean into Him more fully, to cultivate resilience, and to trust that He is present even when unseen. The very moments you feel most alone can become the moments where God is working the most powerfully on your behalf, preparing the breakthrough that is yet to come. As we come to the close of this message, I want you to hear this truth clearly. God is not finished with you yet. No matter how heavy the burden feels, how long the wait has been, or how many times you've thought about giving up, God is still working in your life. Every struggle, every tear, every moment of doubt is part of a greater plan that He is orchestrating for your good. Remember, your breaking point is not your ending point. The resistance, the delays, and even the silence are not signs of failure. They are signs that something greater is coming. God's hand has never let go of you, and He will continue to hold you steady when your strength runs out. You were chosen to finish, not to quit. The pain you have endured has a purpose. Every weakness you feel is an invitation for God's power to show up in your life. Every season of struggle is refining you, preparing you, and building endurance that will serve you for the rest of your journey. Do not allow fear, doubt, or discouragement to cut short what God is doing. He is still writing your story, and ending is greater than you can imagine. Your story is not over. Your breakthrough is on the way. So today, stand firm. Keep going. Keep trusting. Keep believing. When you feel like quitting, remember God won't let you quit. He will carry you, guide you, and bring you to the place He has prepared for you. You are not finished yet. Your victory is coming. Stay faithful, stay hopeful, and keep moving forward. God's plan for your life is unstoppable, and His promises are true.